There's a problem I've been thinking about a great deal these days, and it's a problem that doesn't only apply to games. It applies to all modern media, but it is perhaps particular in the way that it affects games. This is the problem of preservation. We have books that have been handed down to us through the millennia. We have paintings that have been painstakingly preserved over dozens of generations. These things help us to understand who we are as a culture, and more than that, they help us to understand the medium they're a part of. They're a living testament to how that art grew and developed. They're a guide and a reference for future students of that medium. They show us the missteps and the masterworks of past ages, things which may never be able to be created again because they come from a completely different culture and a different time. They illumine and inform our work, allowing us to stand on the shoulders of giants and create greater things. But today this has become difficult. Even ignoring copyright issues, in any digital medium it becomes a question of either storage or encoding. Some of you who've been gaming since the early days might have many fond memories of games you played on 5.5-inch floppies. How many people still have a machine that runs those things? How many of us long ago cleaned out our closets and got rid of such antiquated technology? And as much as we think of emulation sites and abandonware hubs preserving this heritage, there are thousands of games which have simply disappeared. There are also many games that are falling into the technological mists, and as great as things like DOSBox are, they will require someone to go in soon and update them to run on a modern OS, or hardware that simply couldn't be conceived of at the time these games were created. Beyond that, though, games have a unique challenge, because games are all designed with interface in mind. Playing Centipede without a trackball, or playing one of the BattleTech pods on a home PC, is just a different experience. It often doesn't provide the richness and depth of the original creation. It gives us a pale shadow, an image in a warped mirror, of what these games were supposed to be. I mean, look at many of the great classic console games that are now ported to the iPad or iPhone, where they're played with a virtual touchscreen D-pad and buttons. Those of you who remember the originals know what a loss those ports are, and those of you who are playing them for the first time in this context may well, and with merit, ask yourself, why did people think these games were so good? Then there's the even more modern problem of connectivity. First, there's MMOs. Sure, there are a number of projects going on to preserve old MMOs, but what really is an MMO without the players? The same can be said for any primarily multiplayer game. What is Call of Duty or even Demon's Souls without other people? Beyond that, though, there's the fact that more and more games are requiring connectivity today. It's our most recent approach to fighting piracy, and actually it's one of our better ideas in that regard, but what happens when the servers these games are hard-coded to connect to are nothing more than cobwebs and dust? Someone's going to have to hack open these products and find some way of removing this requirement for connectivity. Or they'll have to go back and find the server code and set up new servers which will allow these products to once again come to life. And if that sort of thing hasn't already been achieved now, while these products are popular, what hope is there of achieving it when there's some dim and near-forgotten memory? But perhaps even more important than all of that, more important than simply keeping extant, is the question of ease of access. Even if we do manage to preserve games in an academic setting, even if there is a version of a game that can be accessed with the right equipment and level of technical expertise, what good is that if the barrier to doing so is too high for students or lovers of the medium to really do so? Every painter, every critic and lover of that medium has seen Starry Night. Perhaps not the original in the Museum of Modern Art, but at least a facsimile that comes very near to the real thing. A simulacra that has none of the flaws I've mentioned for games. But think about it. James works with many, many students and aspiring designers. He rarely meets young designers who have played Mule, Wizard of War, or even things like the original XCOM. That is disastrous for our medium. That wealth of knowledge, those incredible landmarks in game design should be our common heritage. I should be able to reference something in Grim Fandango and have it be a part of our shared language, our common understanding. As designers, we should be able to talk about some element of System Shock 2 or Earthbound and have that be as much a part of our communal reference set as the Mona Lisa or Hamlet. I don't know how we solve this problem. I'm not even sure there is a concrete answer in a medium that's evolving as rapidly as ours. I guess all I can say is that I encourage all of you, whenever you find a gap in your gaming schedule, during the summer doldrums or the spring release lull, to go back and look at the classic works of our medium. I know it can be a headache to get some of these things up and running, but pass that knowledge on. There's a lot of great gaming experiences out there, and a lot of knowledge we're missing out on because we're losing our past. See you next week.
Mm-hmm.